Hello everyone and welcome to another day of Clues by Sam. We have another tricky one today. It is May the 21st, and if this is your first time here, I'm gonna play the game and explain my logic as I go. So if you need any help or you get stuck or you don't know any of the mechanics, then I hope I can help you with it and we can have fun solving this thing together. Let's start today's with Ivan telling us that exactly 2 instances to the left of Nicole are neighboring Gary. Okay, Ivan is to the right of Gary and not to the left of Nicole, because people to the left of Nicole who neighbor Gary are Katie and Logan. So that means that if two of them are instance, both of them have to be instance, right? And we dismiss Ivan's clue by clicking on it, so it goes sort of see-through and we don't look at it anymore. Katie now says that exactly one builder has a criminal directly to the right of them. So we have 3 builders here in row 5, and one of them only has a criminal to the right of them, which means that either Vince or Wanda or Syed are gonna be a criminal, but only one of those 3. Logan says that row 5 is the only row with exactly 2 innocents. So we just figured that among these 3 people, there's only one criminal, right? So let's suppose that that criminal is Sid. That'll make Wanda and Vance both innocents, right? And we know that row 5 has only 2 innocents. So Thor, the third person here who is not to the right of anybody, has to be a criminal so that we have a total of 2 innocents in row 5. We don't need Logan's clue anymore now. Just Katie telling us that there's only one criminal here. Thor says that only one of the 2 criminals to the left of Frida is even Ivan's neighbor. So one of the 2 criminals to the left of Frida. Where's Frida? There's 3 people to the left of Frida, and 2 of them are criminals, and only one of those 2 neighbors Ivan, which is right here. So only one of either Bobby or Erwin are gonna be a criminal, so we tag them with the same color so that when we turn one into a criminal, we know that the other one with the same color is an innocent. And the second criminal to the left of Frida, now we know that has to be Amy. And we don't need Thor's clue anymore because the tags are telling us that these guys are opposites. Amy now says that only one of the 2 criminals neighboring Sophia is in row 5. So, Sophia has 5 people neighboring her. 2 of them are criminals in total, and she has 2 people neighboring her in row 5. So one of them is a criminal. So now we know that these guys are opposites as well as Bobby and Erwin, because only one of them is going to be an innocent, which makes the other one a criminal, or vice versa. And since we know there were 2 innocents here in row 5, the second innocent now has to be Vance, right? So we don't need Amy's clue anymore. I guess we do because it tells us that Sophia still has a second criminal neighboring her. But Vince gives us a new clue. Only one of the 4 criminals neighboring Ivan is in row 3. So Ivan has 3 people in row 3 neighboring him, and only one of them is a criminal. But of those 3, the only 2 who could be criminals are Maria and Nicole. So we know that those gals also have to be opposites, right? Because only one of them is going to be a criminal. And we know that Ivan has 4 criminals total neighboring him. So about those 4, we know of 2. There's Maria or Nicole, that's one of them. And there's another couple of opposites here who are Bobby and Erwin, who also neighbor Ivan. So that's 2. 2 of the criminals that neighbor Ivan. Now we need 2 more, right? But what did we learn with Maria and Nicole? They also neighbor Sophia. So we know that since Sophia has 2 criminals total, and one of those criminals is here in row 3, and the other one is in row 5, then Ronald, who is in neither of those rows, couldn't be a criminal. All my calls are gone. What does Ronald tell us now? Because we knew something about somebody. Ah. Did we? We don't need Katie's clue anymore because we have the text for Wanda and Sid. And we don't need Amy's clue anymore because we know that Sophia has her criminal neighbors tagged as well. So what else do we learn? We can't forget that this is a tricky one, so I gotta be sure that I'm not dismissing any clues that shouldn't have been dismissed. Exactly 2 instances left of Nicole, neighbor Gary, Katie, and Logan. Exactly 1 builder has a criminal directly to the right of them. Yeah, that's either gonna be Vince or Wanda. And if Wanda is a criminal, then she's not the builder with a criminal to her right. But Vince is gonna be, so it doesn't really matter what Wanda is. Row 5 is the only row with 2 instances, so that goes because we know that I shouldn't have dismissed Logan's clue first because it's talking about row 5, but it's not only talking about row 5 because it says that row 5 is the only row with 2 instances. So when we look at other rows, such as row 1, we know that there's 1 instant here and there's 1 person left in that row that could be an instant. But if that person, in this case Frida, were to be an instant, we would have a row with 2 instants. So that can't happen. Frida has to be a criminal then. And now, since we know that Ivan has to have 4 criminals neighboring him, and one of them is Frida, the second one is going to be here in row 1, and the third one is going to be in row 3. Then in row 2, he has to have a 4th and last one, who's either Hilda or Julie. So we tag them as well. Frida says there are 8 innocents on the edges total. So there's 14 people on the edges. If 8 of them are innocents, that makes what? 6 criminals. And we know about 1, 2, 3 criminals already. But we're also going to have a 4th one and a 5th one here. So only 1 more criminal on the edge, which makes Julie and Nicole. But the thing is, row 2 also has a second instant here besides Ivan. So Gary has to be a criminal, right? An innocent, sorry. Because we know that row 5 is the only row with exactly 2 instants. And if Gary were to be a criminal, we would have 2 criminals and 2 instants in row 2, which can't happen. So we have to have Gary be an instant. And now, Gary tells us that Nicole is one of Maria's 6 instant neighbors. So Nicole is an instant, which makes her opposite, Maria, a criminal. But now we also know that Maria has 6 neighbors total, 6 innocent neighbors total. 4 of which are already revealed, Ivan, Logan, and Nicole, and Ronald. The 5th one is either going to be Hilda or Julie because they are opposites to neighbor Maria. And there's 2 more people in row 4 who neighbor Maria that have to be opposites. So that only one of them is the 6th instant neighbor for her, right? So with that tagged, we don't need Gary's clue. But that gives us Ollie. Because Ronald, being an instant, and a second person who's either Kita or Sophia being a second instant, makes row 4 have 2 instants. And we know that row 5 is the only row with 2 instants. So Ollie couldn't be a criminal, otherwise row 4 would be left with 2 instants. So Ollie has to be an instant as well. And now we count our criminals on the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4 down here, 5 up here. So 6 with one of these 2 guys. Oh, I haven't read Nicole's clue. There's an odd number of instances neighboring Irwin. So Irwin has 1 instant so far, as Ivan, but he's gonna have a second one for sure, who's either gonna be Hilda or Julie, since they're opposites, and both of them neighbor Irwin. So that's 2 instances. To make an odd number, he needs 1 more, and there's only Bobby who could be the third one to make an odd number. So Bobby is an innocent, and since Bobby is Erwin's opposite, that makes him a criminal. Now, Bobby says that Thor has more innocent neighbors than Amy. Where's Thor? Thor has so far 2 innocent neighbors. Amy also has 2 innocent neighbors. But we know that Julie and Sophia are opposites, right? So we know that if Julie were to be an innocent, that will make Hilda a criminal and Kita an innocent, right? Which would make Sophia a criminal, but now we know that Thor has 3 innocents and Amy has only 2. So that goes with the clue that Thor has more innocent neighbors than Amy. If it were the opposite, it would be the opposite scenario. Amy would end up with more innocent neighbors than Thor. So that can't happen. We know that Kita has to be an innocent, which makes Sophia a criminal. And Hilda has to be a criminal, which makes Julie an innocent. Very nice, very nice. Julie now says there's an equal number of criminals in columns A and C. And we already know the total for column A, that's 2 criminals. So column C has to have 2 total as well, and it already does, that's Erwin and Maria. So the last person in that column has to be an innocent, which makes Yid a criminal. Done. Very nice. Ooh, very low perfect solve rating. I think the closer we get to the harder puzzles and to the weekend, consequently, it makes people probably less willing to spend the time. I think people are more tired from the week. And like, for example, me, I'm doing these later in the day, so I'm tired from the day as well. So it makes sense that there's less perfect solves. But the mechanics today were pretty solid. Mechanics that we have seen before, like none of them were really new. And I really enjoyed it. Very nice one to debrief from the week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.